off on WUFT Midday, Charlie Kirk's public memorial in Arizona over the weekend brings pressing questions of free speech from both sides of the aisle in America.
Plus, an unlikely visitor in a Florida man's bathroom. Why he says he was forced to open fire on the animal. Aiden?
We're keeping a close eye on the tropics, monitoring a couple of areas of potential development. I'll have a full outlook and your work week forecast in just a few minutes.
You're watching WUFT Midday.
After thousands gathered Sunday for Charlie Kirk's memorial, the nation faces tough questions on free speech. This is WFT Midday. I'm Nicole Muscolino.
And I'm Catherine Chapman. Kirk was a strong advocate for free speech protections, but in the wake of his death, there are new concerns, from the suspension of ABC late-night host Jimmy Kimmel to the new rules at the Pentagon. And as Alice Barr reports, lawmakers on Capitol Hill are weighing in.
What do we do? This morning, pressing questions from both sides of the aisle about free speech in America, as tens of thousands said goodbye to the murdered conservative activist Charlie Kirk at a public memorial in Arizona.
I will miss him so much because our marriage and our family were beautiful.
Many, including President Trump, honoring Kirk's commitment to promoting free speech.
It's the right and inheritance of every free American, the greatest legacy of the Enlightenment, and among the most treasured achievements of civilization. We will defend it at all costs.
Now, in the wake of Kirk's assassination, there are new concerns about censorship, thrust to the forefront after ABC indefinitely pulled its late-night host Jimmy Kimmel off air after his comments about Republicans' response to Kirk's murder that led to criticism from the FCC chairman and suggestions of potential action involving the network's license. President Trump has since made similar comments. Lawmakers in both parties weighing in.
The FCC was wrong to weigh in, and I'll fight any attempt by the government to get involved with speech.
Censorship and what we're seeing from the federal government only serves to further divide us and make us less safe.
It comes amid new Defense Department restrictions that journalists can no longer gather or report information, even unclassified, without authorization from the government or risk losing their press credentials. The National Press Club calling it a direct assault on independent journalism, while Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth argued the press does not run the Pentagon, the people do. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
It may be the first day of fall, but with temperatures in the 90s this week, you'll need to leave those sweaters at home. And that's not the only thing heating up. UF forecaster Aiden Wacksman is live in the weather studio tracking the temperatures and monitoring two disturbances in the tropics.
Yeah, Nicole, we're keeping a close eye on the tropics right now. No need to worry yet, but right now we are watching some activity. There's a little bit of thunderstorm development here. This is a tropical wave, and you can see a little bit of convection developing there. Still very disorganized, not even a system, not even a low-pressure system yet, so still plenty of time before this might get going. 40% chance of development within the next week, so we'll keep a close eye on that one for you. And then there's another tropical development that I'll have more for you in your full forecast in just a couple of minutes. There is Hurricane Gabrielle, went through rapid intensification, and now a Category 3 hurricane, should become a Category 4 later today. A lot of strong convection around the center of that storm, so it's looking like it'll be pretty favorable that could intensify even more. The good news, well offshore, not much of a concern for us. Nothing more than some pretty good surf out there if you want to get your surfboard. Radar, showers and storms well away from us, and that is good news because you won't need an umbrella for now, but you might need it this evening. I'll have your full forecast in just about 10 minutes.
World leaders are in New York for the gathering of the UN General Assembly today. Among them is Ukraine's leader, who says he's set to meet with President Donald Trump. This meeting comes as Ukrainian president says he will defend the Baltic states and Poland from Russia if necessary. His statement follows Russian attacks into NATO airspace. Those include flying jets over Estonian territory Friday and drones over Polish and Romanian land earlier this month.
Sooner or later, if this kind of provocation happens, we're going to have some kind of incident that will prompt a crisis. And that crisis will force President Trump, I suspect, to think about which side they want to take.
Article 5 of the NATO treaty says an attack on one member state is an attack on all of them. Today, that group is holding an emergency meeting at Estonia's request.
Several of the country's biggest news outlets are publicly pushing back on new restrictions that would sharply restrict reporting at the Pentagon. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth unveiled new rules to reporters on Friday. According to the new policy, beat reporters with a Pentagon credential will have to sign a pledge not to use or obtain unauthorized material. The New York Times, The Washington Post, and The Wall Street Journal have all issued statements criticizing the policy. Hegseth's press office has already booted some news outlets from media workspaces and made key parts of the building off limits to journalists without an official escort.
The fight to combat school shootings spans multiple decades. The Mass Shooting Tracker reports over more than 350 mass shootings so far this year. And with those numbers, concerns regarding public safety continue to rise. WFT's Nicole looked into some ways unique mental health advocates are pleading for change.
The headlines continue.
Berwyn police say 3 people were killed in a shooting right outside of Lincoln Middle School.
Right now, we continue to follow the breaking news of an active shooter on Florida State's campus.
Melissa Hortman and her husband were shot and killed in their homes overnight, also shot.
But the solution to stop mass shootings?
Since the shooting earlier this week and the themes tonight, hope and forgiveness,
has yet to be agreed on. Aaron Stark believes he has it.
In a moment of pain and anger, I almost committed a terrible atrocity.
Because he was almost the shooter.
I was going to go into the doors in the cafeteria, or I was going to go down to the mall and attack their food court.
Stark never carried out this plan, but he says that a single act of kindness is what stopped him. Scarlett Lewis preaches the same message of asking people to choose love, except her advocacy roots in grief.
My son was murdered by a former student at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Jesse, at 6 years old, stood up to the shooter and saved 9 of his classmates' lives. He sacrificed his life.
Lewis created the Jesse Lewis Choose Love movement to teach children the importance of love and forgiveness, even if it meant forgiving the man who killed her son.
I've forgiven the shooter. I absolutely have. And the interesting thing about that forgiveness is that it frees me up for joy.
Through their differences, they fight the same fight, spreading awareness on how powerful extending a helping hand can be.
So far, the Jesse Lewis Choose Love movement has been established in over 16,000 schools across the world in hopes to spread kindness one kid at a time.
Amid recent violence across the country, a Florida lawmaker has introduced a bill that would allow churches, synagogues, and mosques to arm church volunteers in an effort to make people feel safer. The security services at places of worship bill introduced by Senator Don Gates would require volunteers to pass a background check, have a concealed carry permit, and have the security plan approved by a local sheriff. The bill would also provide an exemption from licensure requirements to certain volunteers who provide this service. Some churchgoers welcome this idea.
Well, I think security should be considered first and foremost, especially when there's mass gatherings of any kind, either in the public venue or in church. They attract some of the most unconscionable people, not that often, but enough that it becomes tragic when maybe a little security would have made all the difference in the world.
The Florida legislature will convene for its next regular session in January.
A quiet Lake County neighborhood turned into a chaotic scene over the weekend after a bear broke into a home and was shot and killed by the homeowner. But this wasn't the homeowner's first encounter with a wild animal. Pamela Combs spoke with the owner, who said he had no choice. We want to warn you, some of the video you're about to see may be disturbing.
A bear dead inside a Lake County bathroom. Not the scene you'd expect in this quiet neighborhood off Ponderosa Avenue in the rural part of the county. But for one family Friday, it was a terrifying reality.
Pure fear for me. I mean, seeing an animal that big coming at you and being face to face with it, I mean, it's not something you want to deal with.
He lives right by the woods, so he is no stranger to bears. In fact, he's seen moms and their cubs jump his fence, roam his yard, and even break into his garage. But this is the first time they've ventured this far into his home. Back in January, one got in, but Zeke Clark spotted it and let it out. 2 months ago, another one, but that one ate its way out of the garage. But Friday's bear, not so lucky. It snuck in through the garage door, but the automatic hinges closed behind it, trapping the bear inside.
Came to this door, bent this door all the heck, got this door open.
And from there, it barged straight into the house. Clark's mother-in-law was sitting in the living room. She screamed. The dog started barking. The bear bolted.
Bear was right here, went running down the hallway.
The only open door? The bathroom. The bear ran in. Clark shut the door behind it, and before it got to his family, he fired.
I was able to get the door back open again, shot one time inside the bathroom, shut the door again because the bear was trying to get back out, and then finished by shooting 2 more times.
He pulled the bear onto a tarp and dragged it out. FWC handled the rest. Now Clark's looking to upgrade his doorknobs and counting his blessings.
This could have been a much worse situation. I'm thankful for that.
Bears are in search of more food to increase their fat reserves for winter. Be sure to secure garbages, bird feeders, and grills, anything that can attract them and lock your doors at night.
The Gainesville Latino Film Festival is celebrating its 21st year, bringing cinema, culture, and community together. Organized by the Latino Women's League, the film festival features films across Latin America with events such as movie screenings, panel discussions, and cultural performances. Women's League President Erica Gersi says the festival highlights diversity through the art of film.
The festival was created to unite the community and also to educate those who don't know anything about Latin America. And what a better way to do it through filmmaking.
The festival runs until September 28th with free admission to all events in multiple locations throughout Gainesville. You can see these locations at GainesvilleLatinoFilmFestival.org.
Ocala's historic Booster Stadium could get a $20 million upgrade if district leaders approve the proposal. Home to Vanguard High School, Booster Stadium would have a complete makeover of its facilities. The proposal includes an overhaul of restrooms, locker rooms, concession stands, turf, and more. According to the proposal, funding for the project would be made through donations. The future stadium would have a seating capacity of 10,000.
Check out some of those puffy cumulus clouds on your screen. They might be foreshadowing some scattered showers and storms later today. I'll have your full forecast in just a few minutes.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back. Taking a live look at the roadways this noon hour, you can see traffic is moving slowly on I-75 through Paynes Prairie and Alachua County. And the skies above filled with cloud cover. The UF weather team is tracking some rain for your work week. UF forecaster Aiden Wacksman is live in the weather studio timing out the rain for your week ahead.
Yeah, we could see some showers and storms later today. Let's take a quick look at some temperatures right now, though. 87 here in Gainesville at the airport, 86 in Ocala. Most of us staying in those mid to high 80s, but let's take a look at Lake City really quickly. 82 degrees, a little bit cooler to the north, maybe still a little bit of dry air there, but we are getting some moist flow that could make some of those showers and storms a little bit more likely as we head into the rest of the week. You can actually see that moisture and flow right here coming from the south, moving up toward us here in north central Florida. So that dry air we had last week, maybe a little bit of a luxury because it's going to be feeling a little bit more muggy out there. These humidity values definitely higher than they were last week. We were seeing dew points around the 50s. Now we're talking normal for this time of year, around the 70s. So if you're humid out there, not as much of that dry air. It's going to feel a little warmer out there because of that too. So might want to keep those shorts on because it's going to be pretty warm out there. Can't get the long pants out quite yet. This afternoon you could see some of those showers and storms around the 6-7 o'clock hour. High of 91 degrees, so it could be a little bit warm out there again. But overall, pretty nice until the evening hours. You can see maybe some of those showers and storms popping up around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Might want to have that umbrella just in case. And tomorrow we can see some more showers and storms rolling in those early afternoon hours around 4 o'clock, and then maybe in the evening getting a little bit rainier. I do think this model is a little bit aggressive on the showers and storms, but still good to have an umbrella this week, just more moisture in the atmosphere. So we do know that rain is at least a little bit more likely. And some of those temperatures as well from our heat index. well over 100 degrees, right in the triple digits, so those summertime temperatures, that's what it's feeling out there. It's the first day of fall today, but it really doesn't feel like it, and won't feel like it for the rest of the week, unfortunately. Again, triple digits for most of us here in north central Florida. Let's transition over to the tropics. We got a couple of things to talk about here. Hurricane Gabrielle, very far offshore, no need for us to worry about it. At most, maybe some high surf, rip currents along the coast, but this storm did go through rapid intensification, and you can see a really well-defined eye, strong convection around the eye wall, overall looking like a pretty strong storm out there, but not affecting us. It should be moving well off into the Atlantic, well off to the east, all the way toward Europe, so nothing to worry about for us there, but we are keeping an eye on this possible disturbance right here. Some thunderstorms off the coast of South America, around the Leeward Islands at the moment, 40% chance of development within the next week. This space, it doesn't mean that this is where the storm's going to go. This just means the center of this system, once it eventually develops into a low pressure, could be anywhere within this area. So just something to keep an eye on as we head into the end of the week. And then this system as well, or this area, we're monitoring another cluster of thunderstorms, around 70% chance of development over the next week. And this looks like it'll veer out to sea. So things we're keeping an eye on, no need to worry yet. We'll be monitoring things for you right here at WUFT, and you can see this tropical timeline as well, right? 8 to 14 days out, way too far to tell. This is disturbance number 1, disturbance number 2. We're still pretty far out there in terms of trying to figure out where these will go, how strong these will be. Very far out. No need to concern yourself. Just keep an eye on it and tune into our weathercast, because we'll be sure to keep you guys updated. Taking a look at the 7-day, it should be pretty warm out there this week, and rain chances upped from last week. Again, have that umbrella ready. I'll have one final look at the weather in just a couple of minutes.
The push to end child hunger is moving through north central Florida. Local food programs are working overtime to ensure no child goes without. WFT's Jessica Wilkinson spoke with a nonprofit about its efforts to put an end to this global issue.
No one can effectively learn on an empty stomach. That's the consensus of advocacy groups like No Kid Hungry and the push behind making sure children's bellies stay full.
We can easily think that that's a over there problem, that it's something that happens in other communities. And we need to remember that across the state of Florida, we're looking at about 1 in 5 kids living in homes that are considered food insecure.
The USDA defines food insecurity as people who don't have enough to eat and don't know where their next meal is coming from. Sky Beard is the Florida director of the nonprofit No Kid Hungry. She says this issue is bigger than we may realize.
One of the things we heard really consistently this year in that statewide survey was the number of families going into debt because of the cost of food.
Feeding America, in conjunction with the Florida Department of Health, shows Alachua County is above the state average when it comes to the number of people who are deemed food insecure. A local food bank strives to break that statistic.
As of 2023, 1 in 7 of our neighbors don't know where the next meal is going to come from. So there's upwards of over 55,000 people in our community who are hungry and dealing with hunger.
Children aren't the only demographic in Florida that struggle with food insecurity. Alfred Hicks comes to Bread of the Mighty 5 days a week, as he has been for years to help his church. He joked that he was a founding member.
We have a lot of families that are in need, giving them food and stuff like that. They help them to bridge that gap, the hunger gap, and it helps out a lot.
Bread of the Mighty takes in donations from local stores, a relationship Patrick Dodds says is essential to its success.
It's a really mutually beneficial partnership because they've got products that they would otherwise be throwing away, and we've got connection to people in the community who need it. And the food bank's really just the conduit connecting those two pieces.
Nonprofits like No Kid Hungry are working to close the gap on this issue.
Making some sweeping changes that impact lots of folks. State and federal policy is really where that's at.
If you're local and struggle with food insecurity, feel free to reach out to either organization. Both organizations hope they can continue helping their communities.
A new government report shows that despite the Trump administration's tariffs, the price of a new car has held steady in recent months. But people are noticing a difference if their vehicle has to be repaired. The latest Consumer Price Index report shows a jump between July and August. The report found car repairs are 5%. That's the largest one-month increase on record. And overall, car repairs are up 15% from a year ago. Analysts say that the tariffs are mostly to blame. The Trump administration has slapped fees on both imported autos and parts.
Here's a good reason to squeeze another sweet treat out of the warmer weather today. Monday is National Ice Cream Cone Day. According to the nationaldaycalendar.com, ice cream cones were first mentioned in French cookbooks around 1825. They became popular in the U.S. in the late 1800s and then debuted at the World's Fair in 1904. From there, an inventor patented a machine to make ice cream cones in 1912. He sold the company to Nabisco in 1928.
Coming up next, when Midday returns, another loss for Gators football, this time against in-state rival Miami.
While they did put up a fight in the second half, it wasn't enough to overcome the hole they dug for themselves. After the break, the WFT sports team details the team's shortcomings and where they go from here.
From sports, I'm Josh Stevens. Saturday proved to be yet another setback for the Florida Gators as they racked up their third straight loss, falling 26-7 to Miami on the road. Florida was down from the get-go as Miami got on the board early in the first quarter, but the story of the game was the same as the last two as the Gators struggled once again through the air. DJ Lagway only threw for 63 yards and had his first collegiate start without a touchdown. However, the Gators were able to cut it to a one-score game in the third quarter as sophomore Jaden Baugh rumbled into the end zone for 6. Florida wasn't able to capitalize on the momentum as the fourth and long conversion fell incomplete, effectively ending the game and pushing the Gators to 1-3 on the season.
It's very frustrating. We got to clean a lot of things up. We're not playing nowhere near the brand of football that we know how to play. So, we got to clean a lot of things up.
55 points on opening weekend, the Gators have mustered just 3 touchdowns in the 3 weeks since. Following a 5-interception outing against LSU, Lagway played very cautiously, only completing 12 passes. Florida will have a bye week to reset before facing back-to-back top 10 teams in Texas and Texas A&M. The Gators basketball team held a reunion for their greatest players in the last 7 decades, including former Gator Vernon Maxwell. 35 years after having his stats wiped out by the NCAA in Florida, Maxwell had his points reinstated by the UAA and reclaimed a spot atop the Florida all-time points leaderboard.
It's a blessing because I never thought it was going to happen, but I mean, it's a blessing for me, and just like I said, for my mom. It's a lot of people that had hands on, like, making this happen.
The reigning champion Florida Gators returned to camp today. The First at 5 crew went behind the scenes for College Game Day. Join us back at 5 for more. And that's all for sports. I'm Josh Stevens.
We got some pretty warm weather this week, temps around the mid-90s into the mid-weeks.
Thanks for joining us today for WFT Midday. We're back here tomorrow for another edition.
We will see you later today for First at 5 on Channel 5. Have a great afternoon.